Welcome guys, Chad here with Apex Reviews. Today I'm excited to bring you a car that really needs no introduction. This is the 2018 Cadillac CTS-V. Now this car produces 640 horsepower and 630 foot-pounds of torque out of an LT4 supercharged 6.2 liter V8. So yes, looking at the cluster here, you can see I do have the boost gauge on the left, radio station on the right, fully configurable. But we'll go through that when we actually do the video review, which you'll see coming out soon. This time around, it's just a simple drive time. You can hear some of the sounds coming out of this engine, that ever so sweet boost sound, and you know, some of the acoustics as I go through some of the drive modes. We've got Tour, Sport, Track, Snow and Ice. Each mode does change the steering dynamics, the sound of the exhaust, and you know, obviously shifting and things like that. So a lot of changes to be had. We've got GM's Magic magnetic ride control suspension, and you know, this is a $100,000 car. So what can GM put out to really, you know, kind of upset those guys with the cafe standards? You know, this is it. So I'll stop talking, we'll move forward. I'll definitely make some points when it's due. So certain dynamics that only I can feel, you know, outside of the video and the sound that you're hearing, will be up ahead. And so I'll share those comments with you, but for the most part, you know, try to take a listen and hear what you'll hear behind the seat of the CTS-V. As far as feeling goes behind the seat, these do have Recaro seats. Nice feel to them, really nestle you in, and there's a ton of controls here. And you know, you can look at the screen right here. You've got controls all over the place to control your bolsters, both thigh and your torso bolstering here. So a lot of controls, good feel, leather wrapped, heated suede steering wheel. You can see the heat's on here, heated seats, just a good place to be. And you got suede headliners. I mean, does it really get better than this? It's just phenomenal. You know, for 100 grand though, I expect some suede. Now this might not be showing up in the video, but we do have a heads-up display up ahead here. The one I currently have configured does have a tach and a speedometer on it, but there are a couple other options depending on what you'd like to have. In this case, I just like to have the tach. Now one thing to note real quick, this CTS-V does need an alignment. I had some work done and the steering wheel's off just a tad, so this is someone's daily vehicle. So, you know, it does have 6,800 miles on it here. Not a brand new car like I typically test, but still very new and very exciting to drive. Currently in a sport mode, just pulling out onto a road here. Like I said, we do have some moisture on the road today, so unfortunately I can't really get on the throttle too quickly, but you can hear some of the boost here as I accelerate slightly. Again, this is not full throttle by any means. It's just a little bit harder to do so today. You can see I did a brief little hit there on the gas at the very end. You hear the boost, you know, wind up there, probably up to about 10 pounds. And man, does it sound nice. So car settling in now into a final gear. I'm barely hitting the gas here. The car really has zero trouble. You know, this is a 200 mile per hour car, so driving 50, 60 miles an hour is just not even creating any boost, just alone without the supercharger. You know, you've got a 6.2 liter V8 there. You know, and this is a 1.7 liter supercharger. The previous V with 556 horsepower, it had a 1.9 liter supercharger. So, you know, the supercharger in itself is bigger than some engines out there. So, in displacement at least. So, you know, a lot of power to be had here, and they're doing it more efficiently than they had in the prior generation. You know, 1.7 liters, same 6.2, not the same 6.2, different 6.2, but same, you know, size engine, and yet we're putting out another almost 100 horsepower and equal torques. So I'm going to put in tour mode here, and this will soften the suspension and quiet the exhaust. You feel it as a driver. In the video you may not. As far as sound goes, I have zero sound coming through the A-pillars. Really all I hear is tire noise. And you know, honestly, this has, you know, pretty large tires on it, very wide, meaty tires to get that 600 and some horsepower to the ground. So to be expected, and they are, you know, obviously not in all season, but a max performance summer tire. So right now in driving here in, you know, Michigan, we've got it's winter, no snow on the ground, but still not exactly the best temperature for these tires. You get a little noise, and you're going to get that even in the summer months. It's just kind of a trade-off with the tire size of the tire. Now, in terms of, you know, feeling behind the wheel and what you receive from the road as a driver and things along those lines, the steering is very communicative. You know, every bump of the road I feel very attached, and obviously that is emphasized. So, you know, when you move into a mode such as track here, the steering wheel stiffens up, the suspension gets more firm, and the vehicle just feels better. You know what I mean? It's more communicated, or not more communicated, it's more connected to the road. You hear the exhaust more, and just really the car just comes alive. And even in tour mode, the car definitely has the power, and you can feel it right behind your toe there. So it takes a lot of willpower to hold back on, you know, utilizing all this horsepower that you spent money for. So really, this is a car that really on public roads you can't use, unfortunately, and it's something you really just have to go to the track for. So, you know, and it kind of begs the question, is the car worth the price? You know, in the used market, this car somewhere in the $60,000-$65,000 range, but it is a $100,000 car, you know, new, and ultimately they are getting rid of the V for the 2019 model year. And I think this is going to be a true performance bargain. I mean, the car is just so good. It's drives well. It's a four-door. I mean, it is just so American in what it is. And I just think, you know, I think GM, unfortunately, is really missing the ball here on what kind of car they have out here. This Alpha platform, you know, it's used in the new Camaro, it's used in the ATS and the CTS, and it's just, it's great. You know, it feels wonderful. Braking feels great. You got six piston Brimbos up front, 4 in the rear. I mean, it feels awesome. So, just a great car. You know, I did go down a rather rough road on the way of getting to where I shot this video here, and you do get a little bit of, you know, interior rattles and stuff, you know, kind of in typical GM fashion, but overall it does pretty good. It's definitely not your standard, you know, getting in like an Equinox or something like that in terms of rattles. But, you know, if I were to hit the gas here, I mean, right there, it was 60 to 80 that quick. You know, I mean, it's a car that just has so much power and ready to go at all times.